right, let's make the video full screen for a second. I guess we should start this by saying who we are and why we think we're qualified to talk about this shit.
Oh, I didn't know I had this. I didn't know how to justify being here. Shit.
So I'll start then while you come up with a scheme. Hi, I'm C. Burns. I am a rapier fencer out of Philadelphia. I have medaled in like 6 rapier and dagger tournaments, and I went to AFO Tournament of Defense, and my literal only loss of the day was Rob Childs. So I've been around the block and fought pretty much a who's who, and lost to a bunch of them too, but I've been around the block. I studied Gigante and Capo Ferro predominantly, as they had the same teacher, so they're kind of the same style of fencing with a slightly different perspective. And I'm here today and for pretty much every other episode with my good friend Josh Derby. Josh, who are ya?
Hi. Yeah. No, I'm Joshua Derby. I'm based out of Pittsburgh. Currently, I'm at Waterfront Historical Fencing, which is a partition of a MMA gym. So we do swords in the back and MMA in the front, Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu, and all that fun stuff too. I actually got started in sword fighting with LARP. I did Dagahir Belgarth for 6 years before I got into sword HEMA, and I do everything. I do longsword, saber, rapier, and if you put a sword in my hand, I'll probably do it. I've had some successes in rapier tournaments. I enjoy it. Um, I recently medaled at Unicorn Cup 2025, so that was pretty cool. And I bounce off of Connie really well, and I don't know as much as they do, but I'm here and enjoy fencing.
Well, trust me, we're glad to have you. This is going to be fun. So I guess we'll start. Unicorn Cup was 2 weeks ago, but last week I was at another kind of small to medium-sized regional event in Columbia, Maryland called ARFL, or American Renaissance Fencing League. It was their winter challenge. So they had a rapier and dagger tournament and a side sword tournament on the day I was there. I only did rapier and dagger. I staffed side sword. The rule set's pretty simple. So it is in elims, first to 7 points. All touches are worth 1 point. Any cut to any target scores, thrust to any target scores, and afterblow to deep target negates the initial touch. So what we have here is a match between myself and Izzy Baden Payne from MKDF. This is the third place match. This is a bit of a long one, so we'll probably skip around some, but basically what's going to happen is we're going to watch the exchanges and do Keller commentary, and if something interesting happens, we'll pause it, we'll play it back slow. I'll probably do some wizardly editing or something so you can see it better, and we will go from there. So let's make this full screen and dive on in. So first pass is fairly simple. What happens here is I close down measure. I try to go for a leg snipe. Izzy crowds me, takes the leg. No big deal. This is a really simple exchange and exactly what you should do if someone tries to snipe the leg. The angle's not the best to see it, so we'll keep going. The judges make their call. And here we go for exchange 2. So this exchange, again, same thing happens. I shoot a shot down the pipeline. Izzy parries high, comes in low with her rapier. I get the afterblow with the dagger, so they're calling it, I believe, blow out of tempo, 1 point Izzy. At this point, I realize I'm kind of up shit's creek, so I try to fake Izzy out, come around the blade, and take the center. And again, she just parries me out and hits me in the head. At this point, the big thing I'm fucking up is that I'm rushing like a motherfucker. This is a bad habit of mine, and it's very evident that Izzy is good enough to truly punish it. So here, we actually have a more interesting exchange. What do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm noticing too is that she's really got like a really good structured stance, especially like you were brought up before this. She's really into Fabris, and she's got that really like strong Fabris stance, and it looks like you're really struggling when she's pushing your blade aside.
Yeah, that was actually a really interesting thing I found in the fight was normally I can rely pretty heavily on my fine constrained hit game. And with her, it's like, I got her, so fuck, the point's coming at my face again. So she was really
Mm-hmm.
good at getting me into kind of a panic loop. And if we play this exchange back a little bit slower, you can definitely see that panic loop engage, right? So if we go from here, we start off, I pressure in, I drop into Capafero's terza, and she
And the second you get
immediately,
pushed off, yeah, the second you get pushed off like that, that's when you can tell that you're really scrambling.
yep.
So I think that's a testament to like her stability is really like an asset.
Yeah, no, it was definitely really, really wild fighting her, expressly because of that. She did a really good job of dominating the center line and doing exactly what Fabra says, which is proceeding with resolution. So on to the next exchange. The judges make their call. That is going to be a clean shot for Izzy.
It's
So
kind of
here we're going to skip since it's really, really hard to see. Unfortunately, she circled, I followed, and all you get is a view of both of our rear ends. The glories of having a static camera with a situation like this. What happened was the same as the last exchange. She found my blade and just walked her point in. This time they said my follow-up dagger was in tempo, so nothing scores. Here, this time, this is a double. I take the center line. She tries to come around my blade and basically drives her bicep into my point, and then tags me in the chest as an afterblow. So this time it's an afterblow in my favor, but it does not score.
you can tell you're kind of your right now your adaptation is that like you're not going to give her the opportunity to push your blade aside.
Yep. But this exchange, again, I'm doing my bad habit, which is just rushing. And
Hmm.
I think she's doing a great job of taking advantage of that. And she's clearly pulling ahead. It's really, really well done. So what do you think so far about, especially Izzy's fencing more so than mine?
I mean, I think it's really cool. Like, I as a person who bounces around a ton in my own fencing, no matter what the weapon, like I really think highly of people who are very stable and really confident in their own binds and defense. Um, and it's one of the hardest type of fencers that I personally like have to fence against because they're so stable, and I like um and the antithesis of that. I'm not as like offensive as you are, but it's definitely really hard because it's hard to press them aside. You can tell like your adaptation right now is to not give them the chance, like to take the center and just
Yep.
proceed very very surely. And I think like while that can work, you're seeing what a confident fencer can do with that with their own resolute uh, stance going forward.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see if there are any adaptations after this.
there definitely are. The fight kind of devolves and then comes back together. So let's continue. Again, we're here. This time I'm way more timid because every time I've tried to close the line, I've gotten rocked. So we have another exchange.
You can
Izzy,
tell though, like you're you proceeding so offensively kind of has shaken her. She took a different stance and is being a little bit more timid herself, or a little bit more like trying to provoke you into doing something.
yeah, that's exactly what happened this exchange. And the cool thing about what Izzy did here is it is straight out of Fabris and Capoferro and Giganti and pretty much every Northern Italian system. She baited me into a fine and then came under my blade while passing offline to clear my point. Here I am a little bit more timid. I see because she is planted, I think I can take her leg. So I pop the leg, but I forget my dagger exists and don't bring it up to cover the afterblow, which is what they are calling here. Oh, they actually called that in my favor. I should have denied that point, but here we are. So again, I'm kind of realizing I have no chance down the center line with her. So I'm trying to set up either a wrap shot to the head, since this event had no quality requirements on cuts. But Izzy does a great job of clearing me with her dagger again and just putting her point in my chest.
Okay, I was curious. It looked like she had just got that parry.
She did. So this time, I am a little more timid, and Izzy just straight down the middle, takes her shot. I try to void my body out of the way, but it just doesn't work, and she does a great job of just diving in. Score is 5-1 right now. But this is where I start to make some changes and try to play a little differently. So here, I bait her into thinking I'm thrusting for the head and take the leg and bail because she's coming down the pipeline again, which buys me the time to get the leg snipe, but she lands to the chest in tempo, meaning that the point is sadly nullified. But this is an adjustment that actually scores me back a bunch of points later on in the fight. Again, here, Izzy and I clash. I push I push her dagger out of the way and stab her in the stomach. The judges do not see it. But that was me trying to figure out literally anything to do against a fencer this stable and with this good defense. It's definitely interesting seeing how different regions fight rapier, because this is same exchange happens again from earlier. I try Fabris's retracted second, try to close the center line, and Izzy just gains and hits me in one shot. It was beautifully done. So here I try to make another adjustment. I'm playing this time from a more retracted position so she can't find my sword. Bait the extension a little further out of measure and take the leg. Let's play that back real quick, because this is the only adaptation I made this fight, and I think it's worth noting.
You actually
So,
made it a little bit earlier too. It led to a double, but I was going to bring it up as soon as I saw it again because you started playing with measure a little bit more, and that's something that like a stable fencer does have trouble with because they're so locked down into that position. Um, I find that playing with that measure is really like the best way to get them out. Like you're not going to push them off, so I think this is a good adaptation on your part.
yeah, this was definitely very, very interesting fighting her. So let's go to the next part. Again, I basically probe a few times to bait the extension. She extends, I get the sword on my dagger, and take the leg. Fairly simple exchange, but it's worth noting that that adaptation is about to cause a bit of a swing in momentum. Yep. Clean shot for me there. So again, I'm playing retracted. And this time I don't even have to do as much setup. She tries to close the line immediately without covering my sword this time. So I can just sweep the dagger, take the leg, and bail out of measure. Here I try to make my footwork a little more lively. And this time I sweep with the dagger and come under her blade with my rapier to get the touch again. I'm starting to control the distance the fight occurs at to make it more favorable for me. Unfortunately, there's just too much of a points gap. Unfortunately, this time I don't quite sweep the thrust from her rapier with my dagger in time, but I'm starting to control the terms of engagement of this fight much better.
Yeah, you're. I mean, because you're changing the measure in which you start your offense. Like sometimes you know you begin your actions further back, and sometimes you shoot forward like this. You're making her like start to second guess herself.
Yep. So I think that Incortada landed, but it got missed. That is what it is. It's HEMA. As long as there are human reps, things will happen. So here, this final exchange, I got a little too greedy. And effectively what happened was this. If we slow this down for just a brief second and break down what happened, I start trying to control the measure again and just completely deny the bind. I try to parry the outside line and come over top with a cut to the head, but Izzy was a little bit too quick with her thrust and took the center line for the match-winning point. So on this
Honestly,
channel,
I think I think you fell back into your habit from the beginning of the match in that last one. It didn't look like you were playing with the measure as much
No, that's
as what Derby.
exactly what got me there, actually. The fact that I didn't play with the measure is what kind of sealed my fate in that fight. So now then, I did this on the test video, and I think it's worth doing here. And I am going to give myself a bad grade, but let's both grade the fencers in this fight. So I'll go first. For Izzy, the three fundamental categories of fencing, at least in my opinion, and I'm dragging Derby along down this railroad, are
The
distance, timing, and blade work, right? So I think in the first fundamental category of distance, once I stopped rushing, I was able to really control the tempo of the fight. I would give myself a B there. Timing. This has always been my arch nemesis. I would give myself a C. Honestly, I didn't do much to control the tempo at which the fight occurred, and I really let Izzy pick the time and place where attacks happened. So she edged me out there. And then in terms of blade work, again, I'm giving myself a B. Once I figured out how to set up my shots, I was able to do it clean. But Izzy, and we're going to get into this, her distance was her weak point. The thing I was able to kind of claw back here was distance, so I am giving her a B minus there because she was very static and she would pose, but she wouldn't try to keep the measure at her comfortable range. She'd kind of let things happen and try to take the advantage. So I'm giving her a B there. Her timing was phenomenal. It really won her the fight. She was able to find the exact measure and tempo in which I was weak and seize the center line or take my blade or do pretty much anything to get the hit. So I'm giving her an A there. That was an A performance in terms of timing. And in terms of blade work, again, I am giving her a B plus or an A. Kind of like it's like getting a 90 on a test. It's an A, but it's damn close to being a B. I think she did a great job there of controlling my blade and really limiting my lines of attack and remembering to bring her dagger into play when the time was right. So that's how I'd score both of us. What about you, Josh?
uh, okay, so I think our minds are in the same spot. But so for you, um, I think there's two sections, right? I think there's your distance management from the beginning and your distance management from like your adaptation. And I'd say your distance management from the beginning would be kind of closer to C. Your distance management from the as you started adapting would be closer to a B. Um, I would say a solid B. Um, you came in really aggressively at the beginning, and she was able to use what her strengths to kind of push you off. But then when you started making that adaptation, the distance was really working better in your favor. That kind of goes back into the timing too. I think timing. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go as low as C. It depends on whether you would call the offensive moving in a distance or a timing thing. I think I'm gonna go B again, and I think the biggest thing is um, blade work here. I'm gonna give you now don't shoot me, but I'm gonna give you a C on the blade work.
No, I
Uh,
completely agree. I completely agree. You are not hurting me there at all.
but I think it really showed that somebody with strong, stable positions really got under your like ruffled your feathers, and you kind of didn't know how to retake the center when she made her presence known. Um,
No, that's
for her,
exactly it.
yeah. For her, I think distance wise, I'd go probably a B minus. I think that was um, her biggest weakness was taking a static position and not being as dynamic with her footwork as she could. I don't want to go as low as C, but I think B minus is a good place. Timing wise, I don't know, maybe B minus as well. It's kind of just goes with distance management here. The biggest thing was taking that static position. Um, when she got it though, she went for it, and she knew that. But there were times where she would take that position of strength and she wouldn't get it, and then she kind of got flustered too, and that's where you were able to come back. Blade work, on the other hand, I'd give her an A. I think
Yeah.
she made her presence known, and the second she felt that she got her position off, you were cooked.
Yeah, very much so. The second she knew she was in that dominant position, she was able to see the center line. And this is honestly a saying from my old BJJ coach when I was doing jiu-jitsu. Position before submission, and in this fight, Izzy does a really good job of emphasizing position before submission. Like, he was very impressively well done. So yeah, that's that fight. I guess it's time to move to your gold medal match.
No, no, don't look at this. So this is the gold medal match between me and Sam Riles at Unicorn Cup 2025. Of note, we fenced in the pools before this. We were in the same pool, and he dominated me. It was not close. I got obliterated. And I'd never fenced him in rapier before. We had fenced longsword earlier that day, and I put up a little bit better of a fight. But the biggest issue with him is that he's literally like a foot taller than me, and his
Yeah,
wingspan is really high, and he can lunge really deep. So in the pools, I got destroyed because I played a lot of defense, and I was like, well, I'm going to be really reactionary because I can't like no first intention actions are going to work. And I'm just like I'm going to focus on playing defense and counter attacking afterwards. Didn't work. Didn't work at all. I got trashed. So my goal in this fight was to be really offensive and get him to try to second guess what he was doing.
all makes
So
sense to me. And of course, Chris Shelton is an excellent hype man for events like this. He even gave us walkout music. Josh and I fought in the finals of Saber, and it was very fun having like a Bruce Buffer style intro to our matches. It was a really cool experience.
all right, I guess we should go over the rule set of this
Oh
tournament
yeah,
before
that might
we
be
get.
important.
So the rule set to this was first to 10 points wins. Cuts to the head and thrusts to the head and torso are worth 2 points. Cuts to any other part of the body are worth 0 points, and thrusts to extremities are worth 1 point. Notably, there's a really large, I guess, really large. There's about a beat and a half tempo afterblow window afterwards. So the ability to double is really high, and that's built into the system. So you'll see quite a few doubles that would normally be called out of tempo. The counter attack would be called out of tempo afterwards, but in this rule set, it's not.
Also, the other thing of note in this rule set is that doubles score. So if Josh and I are fencing and we stab each other in the face, we both get points for it. So
Right.
matches in this rule set tend to be real short if you aren't fencing clean.
So you can see here, I'm trying to be as offensive as possible to not get caught in here.
So what you're doing a really good job of is keeping that dagger incredibly active. Like what I'm seeing here is you're baiting Sam into coming towards an opening, closing it with your dagger, and firing down the pipeline at a hard to hit spot with his dagger. If we scroll back to that last exchange and play it back, it's actually really interesting the adaptation you made here. So that dagger parry into a thrust was really well timed. Since you
Yeah, what
caught
I'm
his
trying
cut.
to do is to use use my offense to kind of like get him to go where I want him to. And the second he started that Molinet, I was like, this is my time, this is my moment. So the dagger goes up, I go in, and he doesn't really have anything else anywhere else to go besides into the dagger.
And that's a great example of a good use of tempo. You set him up for failure, realized that his action was going to be slow, and took the shot down the pipeline. Beautifully done. Which the judges call in your favor, I believe. So we
Yeah.
go to the next exchange. Once again,
So
Sam.
now here's the rule set. He lands really like commandingly, but because there's a bigger afterblow window than is normally in at least a lot of tournaments that I've done, I'm able to just to thrust him under
Yep.
afterwards, and it
So that was, I
yeah
think, an artifact of the way Measure closed down there. because Sam rocketed you with that fletch, but since he didn't keep his dagger in play, you had the line to the torso, which made it a neutral exchange. You both get 2 points and move on.
I think they gave
Which,
me one. I think they said
oh,
it went down to the leg.
interesting. Still, it keeps you in the lead for now.
I think we're the first one was a thrust to the arm, so we're at 2-2 now.
Okay. So that was another really fast exchange. Kind of what I saw there was Sam tries to close the center line. He may or may not hit. You thrust in the center, parry an afterblow, and throw a cut to the head.
Yeah, so when he steps in here, I try to engage a sword. Doesn't happen. This was obviously never meant to land. It was more just a trying to stay offensive and keep him on his toes.
Keep him from being able to just shoot something down the pipeline and
Yeah.
rocket you like that last thrust.
So I get this
Parry,
parry.
that's
I
the
think this
touch.
misses
Oh,
because they
that,
call the it's hard to see at this angle.
yeah.
Maybe it bites, but if it did, either way. So he lands this head, and then I land the head after. So either way, it's a neutral exchange there.
So 2 points all. It is now 4-4. The thing I like that Sam is doing here is keeping his blade active. He's never in one position for too long. He's got a really good sense of when to bail out of an unfavorable position, which is brilliant fencing on his part.
He's really great distance management too. Like
Yes.
it's a lot of those probing shots that I'm throwing are not really rattling him because he understands exactly where my sword is in space.
So that's something that's really cool about Sam is he knows his distance, but he's really good at guesstimating your distance. And this exchange ends in another, I think, double deep, right?
Thanks. So
And there's the dagger parry. Your
yeah,
thrust
so they
comes
give him
in.
the dagger
Yep,
after.
which
So
is
I
why
offset
they,
his sword.
which I think puts the score to 6-6.
Yeah.
Nail
I
biter.
offset his dagger, catch him there. He gets me with the dagger after.
Ooh, that is a fast-paced exchange too. You two are all in. Again, you're
That was
using
a
those
cut to the
probing
arm. That's not
thrusts.
sword. Yeah.
So did that cut to the arm get through?
It was a cut to the arm, but that's not
Score.
sufficient to
Yep,
score.
that's right. In this rule set, that's not a scoring action.
So this is kind of what I'm talking about. I think I take this like probing thrust here, and the fact that like he skips back exactly as far as he needs to is insane. Like other people would take like this gigantic leap back, and he takes a small step, and now I'm like super overcommitted, and I'm
That's
scrambling to make sure I don't get hit.
No, that was really well done by Sam. I think the one thing that you're getting up on him is the fact that he's relying on those big moulinets, which is giving
Mhm.
you tempo for some of your attacks or for easier defense. So again, I think that's another hit very late after blow, but in this rule set it scores, keeping the
Yeah,
score now to 8-8. But the lead up to that was really interesting, and Sam's moulinet into your parry was really well done, I think, since it kind of let you clear out of measure and reset the exchange rather than trying to stay in the pocket and trade with Sam, because especially as a shorter fencer, that is a terrible idea. And
that
yeah,
was
that
the same
is,
experience.
yep,
Just going one time. So I think we're at 8-8. I think this is the last exchange.
yeah.
Yeah. And that was it. So I think it's 8-8, and I think the biggest thing is that it's no matter what, it's either the last exchange or we're in sudden death. So next
Yeah.
score counts. You see, he goes in with this thrust, and I parry the wrong way. I think I'm like about to catch his sword, but I miss. He's just out of range to hit, so he comes in again. I catch his sword off and catch him.
Yep. No, that was really well done on your part. And that was all off the back foot too, which is hard to do. Like, especially when you're the smaller fighter, fighting off the back foot like that is very, very challenging. So I guess let's take the video down and give the fighters our grades because that's what we do here. So I think in this one, I would give your distance management was honestly really, really good. I'd give it maybe not A, but like B plus. You did a
Mm-hmm.
really good job making sure that Sam wasn't in measure, but I think most it's Sam, he does this. His distance management here was an A. The fact that he
I
didn't need to
agree.
take any big steps, the fact that he didn't need to dart in and out of measure was really well done. So you're getting a B plus, Sam's getting an A. In terms
No,
of
I totally agree. That would be my grade too. I'd probably go a little bit lower on my distance management because you see a couple of those like really overcommitted thrusts, and I think
there.
that led to a lot of the doubles. Um, so yeah, I would go A for Sam, B for me.
Agreed. Which then brings us to timing. I think this is where you get a point up on Sam, since Sam is relying on those big moulinets to land his attacks. That takes tempo, and you did a good job of capitalizing on it. And I think in a shorter afterblow window, you might have been able to pull a little bit ahead. So here I'm giving Sam a B plus and you an A. So right now things are very neck and neck, which shows in how the fight went down.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think the two touches that led me up were based on that. The big Molinet that I was able to catch with the dagger in the first pass, and then the very end again. He committed um, a big motion that I was able to capitalize on. So
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, and especially in a weapon right with like rapier where it is very thrust centric, those big motions are trap. They're a trap. Especially if someone knows where to put their dagger or where to put their blade to get the touch. And then in terms of blade work, I'd say you're both about equal. Um,
I think mine's a little bit worse. I'm gonna be honest. I think I had a lot of like really erroneous movements. Like I was moving around a ton, and I was like really like really jumpy because I was trying to stay as offensive as I could to command the pace of the fight. Because if I didn't, I knew I was going to get just smashed. Um, I think honestly, like his movements were really efficient, and while like those big Bolognese may not fall into this category, like all of his thrusts and everything had a lot of like really efficient use of movement of his body and his blade. So I think I would go uh, A for Sam, and I think if you want to put us in the same category, I'd go A minus for me, but I would say either B plus or B.
I would go with B then. I definitely saw that too. A couple of the exchanges, Sam's almost fucking perfect distance management led to him over or you overextending, and he did a decent job of capitalizing on it. But the long afterblow window definitely messed with how both of you prefer defense. Since in most HEMA rule sets, it's normally not that long. I think that was an adjustment you both had to get used to.
Yeah,
So
I think I benefited from that rule set a little bit more than he did as well.
I don't
So I
disagree.
so like even though I came out the superior, I think he superior. Even though I came out the winner in this particular fight, I think in terms of skill, there's a lot more ground for me to cover to get the same grades.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole point of fencing is we get to improve. We look at footage like this to go, oh, hey, here's where I went wrong. Here's where I went right. This is what I need to fix.
Right.
And
Yeah. No. That's the growth mindset that I try to embody, and I try to embody in all of my club mates and my students and stuff too. Is that like you don't compete? I don't like Sam is fantastic, but in that moment, I'm competing with him. But in every other moment, I'm competing with myself.
Yes,
of yesteryear,
absolutely.
myself of the past. So I'm going to be a lot more harsher on how I fence because I want to find those things that I can improve on. And for me, the egregious, the overextension those few times.
The overextension, and I think the overextension played into Sam's strength with his distance management.
Mhm. Yeah, his
And
distance is just inhuman, dude. Like
it is
I
so
think my
good.
distance is pretty good, but that guy's a mutant.
Yeah, he did a really phenomenal job of just dictating the terms of engagement and knowing not just where he was in space, but where you were. Because, like, C is average, right? Like, C is your average grade. Honestly, in order to be a high level fencer, you need at least a C in all of your attributes. To be a truly special fencer, if you can get something to a B or an A, you are on the right track to do well. If you roll into a tournament and your blade work is an A, your distance management is a C, and your um, timing is a B, you'll probably win more fights than you lose. But the big thing is with stuff like this, it's about that growth mindset. It's about looking back and going, oh, here's where I messed up. These are the things that I need to look at, and breaking your fights down into kind of the fundamental pieces. And on that note, I think we can kind of conclude here. I'm going to be setting up a Gmail for this going forward, so if you want to send fight footage our way to have broken down and graded, we would absolutely love content that isn't us roasting ourselves and some poor fool who happened to be across from us in the ring. So we would love more footage and more input, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care, y'all. Bye.
Later.